The cold wind swept through the small Chinese village as May sat outside the barn, her torn clothes clinging to her body. Her eyes were empty, her spirit nearly broken. Once, she had been a devoted wife, full of dreams, but when she couldn't give her husband a child, her mother-in-law labeled her useless. One morning, without warning, she was sold to a traveling merchant, like she was nothing more than an animal. The man dragged her away from her home, leaving her to cry out for mercy that never came. Days later, abandoned in a neighboring town after the merchant found no buyer, May wandered hungry and frightened through the muddy streets. Locals mocked her, calling her cursed. With nowhere to go, she collapsed behind an old barn, whispering a prayer for her life to end. But fate had other plans. At sunrise, a man named Thomas, a widowed farmer, found her shivering beside his barn. His two little daughters, Lily and Rose, peeked from behind his legs, their innocent eyes full of curiosity. "Who are you?" Thomas asked gently, offering her a hand. May, too weak to speak, only bowed her head. Seeing her state, Thomas didn't hesitate, he carried her inside and covered her with a blanket. For the next few days, May barely spoke. She was afraid of being sold again, beaten again, unwanted again. But Thomas's kindness slowly melted her fears. He treated her wounds, shared his food, and even let her sleep by the fireplace so she wouldn't feel the cold nights. His daughters grew fond of her, calling her Miss May. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, Rose accidentally spilled soup on the table. Before she could apologize, May gently wiped it up and smiled softly. Thomas noticed the tenderness in her touch, the warmth that his home had been missing for years. "You're good with them," he said quietly. May lowered her eyes and whispered, "I was never allowed to be a mother." That night, when Thomas stepped outside, he saw May crying under the moonlight. He approached her slowly. "No one deserves what they did to you," he said. "You belong here, if you'll stay." His words stunned her. No man had ever offered her kindness without asking for something in return. For the first time, she smiled through her tears. Weeks passed, and the small farmhouse began to feel alive again. May taught the girls how to cook, sing, and read. Laughter returned to the walls. The villagers who once whispered about Thomas's loneliness now spoke of how his home glowed at night with warmth and happiness. One morning, Thomas went down on one knee, holding a simple wooden ring carved by his own hands. "I don't need a wife who can give me children," he said softly. "I need someone who can give us love." May's tears flowed freely as she nodded, unable to speak. The woman once sold as infertile had finally found a family that needed her, not for what she could give, but for who she truly was. And as the sun rose over the fields, the sound of laughter filled the farmhouse, proving that love, when genuine, heals even the deepest wounds.